Hi. Welcome to this installment of the Bankhead Visiting Writers Series, made possible by an endowment from the Bankhead Foundation, the Program in Creative Writing, the Department of English, and the College of Arts and Sciences. Thanks to Regina Schroeder and the Book Arts Program for the lovely keepsake commemorating this evening's reading. And thanks as well to John McGow of the Soup Store for making the reader's books available for purchase in the lobby. The next reading will be by the nonfiction writer Jessie Lee Kercheval on February 3rd in 205 Smith Hall at 7:30 p.m. She's also a poet, so if you're interested in that. Following tonight's reading, there will be a reception at the home of Leah Nielsen, and maps are available out in the lobby, and as usual, please BYOB. If you'd like to get reminders of the Bankhead readings, please add your name and email address to the list out in the lobby. Bei Dao is considered the most influential of the Chinese Misty Poets, and in the 1970s he became the most important poetic voice of his generation. He was born in Beijing, where he was educated until the age of 17 when the Cultural Revolution began. He served briefly in the Red Guard and then worked as a construction worker for 11 years. During this time, he began writing poetry and sharing his work with a small group of trusted friends. In 1978, he founded the underground literary journal Zhentian Today, the first non-government-sponsored and pro-democracy journal in China since 1949. Since the 1989 revolt in Tiananmen Square, he has lived in exile in Europe and the US. Bei Dao has published 5 volumes of poetry in English: Unlock, Landscape Over Zero, Forms of Distance, Old Snow, and The August Sleepwalker, as well as a collection of short stories, Waves, and a collection of essays, Blue House. His work has been translated into over 25 languages. In addition to numerous international awards and honors, he is an honorary member of the American Academy of Arts, a Guggenheim recipient, and has just recently won the Jeanette Schaken Literary Award from Germany. He is the Mackey Poet in Residence at Beloit College in Wisconsin and is currently serving as the Cole Royalty Chair here at the University of Alabama, where he is teaching a course. Please join me in welcoming Bei Dao.
Good evening. I'm going to read the poems from different periods in chronological order, from the poem, early poem written in about 30 years ago until now. So you can see I'm getting more maturing. And but you lose something, you gain something. From the first one is Let's Go. I'm going to read Chinese first. 走吧，走吧，落叶吹进深谷，歌声却没有归宿。走吧，冰上的月光已从河床上溢出。走吧，眼睛望着同一块天空，心敲击着暮色的鼓。走吧，我们没有失去记忆，我们去寻找生命的湖。走吧，路啊路，飘满红罂粟。
Let's go. Let's go. Fallen leaves blow into deep valleys, but the song has no home to return to. Let's go. Moonlight on the ice has spilled beyond the riverbed. Let's go. Eyes gaze at the same patch of sky, hearts strike the twilight drum. Let's go. We have not lost our memories. We shall search for life's pool. Let's go. The road is covered with a drift of scarlet poppies.
The next one, bouquet. 一束。在我和世界之间，你是海湾，是帆。是缆绳忠实的两端，你是喷泉，是风，是童年清脆的呼喊。在我和世界之间，你是画框，是窗口，是开满野花的田园。 你是呼吸，是床头，是陪伴星星的夜晚。在我和世界之间，你是日历，是罗盘，是暗中滑行的光线。你是履历，是书签，是写在最后的序言。在我和世界之间，你是沙漠，是雾，是引入梦中的灯盏。你是口笛，是无言之歌，是石雕低垂的眼帘。在我和世界之间，你是鸿沟，是池沼，是正在下陷的深渊。你是栅栏，是墙垣，是盾牌上永久的图案。
A bouquet. Between me and the world, you are a bay, a sail, the faithful ends of a rope. You are a fountain, a wind, a shrill childhood cry. Between me and the world, you are a picture frame, a window, a field covered with wildflowers. You are a breath, a bed, a night that keeps the stars company. Between me and the world, you are a calendar, a compass, a ray of light that slips through the gloom. You are a biographical sketch, a bookmark, a preface that comes at the end. Between me and the world, you are a gauze curtain, a mist, a lamp shining into my dreams. You are a bamboo flute, a song without words, a closed eyelid carved in stone. Between me and the world, you are a chasm, a pool, an abyss plunging down. You are a balustrade, a wall, a shield's eternal pattern.
I was Red Guard during Cultural Revolution. There is a sense of the absurdity current with the history of the Red Guard generation, and gives me special view of the upside down as a member of it. Resume. 履历。我曾正步走过广场，剃光脑袋，为了更好地寻找太阳，却在疯狂的季节转了向，隔着栅栏会见那些表情冷漠的山羊。直到从盐碱地似的白纸上看见理想，我弓起了脊背，自以为找到表达真理的唯一方式，如同烘烤着的鱼梦见海洋。万岁！我只他妈喊了一声，胡子就长出来，纠缠着，像无数个世纪。我不得不和历史作战，并用刀子与偶像们结成亲眷，倒不是为了应付那从鹰眼中分裂的世界。在争吵不休的书堆里，我们安然平分了倒卖每一颗星星的小钱。一夜之间，我赌输了腰带，又赤条条回到世上。点着无声的烟卷，是给这午夜致命的一枪。当天地翻转过来，我被倒挂在一棵墩布似的老树上，眺望。
Resume. Once I goose-stepped across the square, my head shaved bare, the better to seek the sun. But in that stream of madness, seeing the cold-faced goats on the other side of the fence, I changed direction when I saw my ideals on blank paper like saline alkaline soil. I bent my spine, believing I had found the only way to express the truth, like a baked fish dreaming of the sea. Long live! I shouted only once, damn it, then sprouted a beard, tangled like countless centuries. I was obliged to do battle with history, and at a knife point formed a family alliance with idols, not indeed to cope with the world fragmented in a fly's eye among piles of endlessly bickering books. Calmly we divided into equal shares the few coins we made from selling off each star. In a single night I gambled away my belt and returned naked again to the world, lighting a single cigarette. It was a gun bringing death at midnight. When heaven and earth changed places, I hung upside down on an old tree that looked like a mop, gazing into the distance.
The next one, untitled. 永远如此，火是冬天的中心。当树林燃烧，只有那些不肯围拢的石头狂吠不已。挂在鹿角上的钟停了。生活是一次机会，仅仅一次，谁校对时间，谁就会突然衰老。
It has always been so that fire is the center of winter when the woods are ablaze. Only stones that don't want to come closer keep up their furious howl. The bell hanging on the deer's antlers has stopped ringing. Life is one opportunity, a single one only. Whoever checks the time will find himself suddenly old.
The next one, at this moment. In 1980, in the June of the 1989, there is a big incident was happened in Tiananmen Square, and many ordinary people were shot down on the streets. And this poem really is kind of the dedicated to those ordinary people. 此刻，那伟大的进军被一个精巧的齿轮制止。从梦中领取火药的人，也领取伤口上的盐和诸神的声音。余下的仅是永别，永别的雪在夜空闪烁。
At this moment, the great advance is checked by an ingenious gear. The man who gets gunpowder from dreams also gets salt on his wounds, and God's voices, the remainder is only farewell. Farewell, snow, gleams in the night sky.
The next one, a local accent. When I wrote this poem, I was in Sweden in 1990. So I didn't speak Swedish that time, and very little English. So, 乡音，我对着镜子说中文。一个公园有自己的冬天，我放上音乐，冬天没有苍蝇。我悠闲地煮着咖啡，苍蝇不懂什么是祖国。我加了点糖。祖国是一种乡音。我在电话线的另一端听见了我的恐惧。
A local accent. I speak Chinese to the mirror. A park has its own winter. I put on music. Winter is free of flies. I make coffee unhurriedly. Flies don't understand what's meant by a native land. I add a little sugar. A native land is a kind of local accent. I hear my fright.
The next one, picture for Tiantian's 5th birthday. Tiantian is my daughter. We were kept apart for 6 years after 1989. And in 1990, in the spring of the 1990, I got a New Year card from her. That she made that New Year's card, and that is all images from this poem came from that card. And Tian Tian is her nickname. It's look like part of the windows. 画儿，给甜甜5岁生日。穿无袖连衣裙的早晨到来，大地四处滚动着苹果。我的女儿在画画儿，5岁的天空是多么辽阔。你的名字是2扇窗户，一扇开向没有指针的太阳，一扇开向你的父亲。他变成了逃亡的刺猬，带上几个费解的字，一只最红的苹果，离开了你的画儿。5岁的天空是多么辽阔。
A picture for Tintin's 5th birthday. Morning arrives in a sleeveless dress. Apples tumble all over the earth. My daughter is drawing a picture. How vast is a 5-year-old sky? Your name has 2 windows. One opens towards a sun with no clock hands. The other opens toward your father, who has become a hedgehog in exile. taking with him a few unintelligible characters and a bright red apple. He has left your painting. How vast is the 5-year-old sky?
The next one, at the sky's edge. 在天涯，群山之间的爱情，永恒，正如万物的耐心简化人的声音，一声凄厉的叫喊从远古至今。休息吧，疲惫的旅行者，受伤的耳朵暴露了你的尊严，一声凄厉的叫喊。
At the sky's edge. Love among the mountains, eternity, that patience of the earth simplifies our human sounds. One arctic thin cry from deep antiquity until now. Rest, weary traveler, a wounded ears already laid your dignity bare. One arctic thin cry.
The next one, background. My road to home was cut off after 1989. Since then, I don't have home anymore, and the place I called home has itself changed beyond recognition. Background. 背景。必须修改背景，你才能够重返故乡。时间撼动了某些字，起飞又落下，没透露任何消息。一连串的失败是捷径，穿过大雪中寂静的看台，逼向老年的大钟。而一个家庭宴会的高潮和酒精的含量有关。离你最近的女人总是带着历史的愁容，注视着积雪、空行、田鼠们所坚信的黑暗。
Background. The background needs revising. You can return to your hometown. A few time-shaken words lift into flight, fall back, divulging no news whatsoever. A string of failures is the shortcut, past silent grandstands in heavy snow, pressing toward the huge clock of old age. At the family gathering, high tide is a matter of alcohol content. The woman closest to you always wears the worried look of history, gazes into snowdrifts, double space to darkness in which voles believe absolutely.
The next one, landscape over zero. 0度以上的风景，是药鹰教会歌声游泳，是歌声追溯那最初的风。我们交换欢乐的碎片，从不同的方向进入家庭。是父亲确认了黑暗，是黑暗通向经典的闪电。哭泣之门怦然关闭，回声在追赶他的叫喊。是笔在绝望中开花，是花反抗着必然的旅程。是爱的光线醒来，照亮0度以上的风景。
Landscape over zero. It's hawk teaching song to swim. Its song tracing back to the first wind. We trade scraps of joy, enter family from different directions. It's a father confirming darkness, its darkness leading to that lightning of the classics. A door of weeping slams shut, echoes chasing its cry. It's a pen blossoming in lost hope. It's a blossom resisting the inevitable root. It's love's gleam waking to light up landscape over zero.
The next one, keyword. I was a blacksmith for 5 years during the Cultural Revolution. Some images in my poems are related to this profession. Actually, a poet and a blacksmith are quite alike. Both of them chased after the poem, a perfect dream, unrealizable. Keyword. 关键词。我的影子很危险，这受雇于太阳的一人带来最后的知识是空的。那是蛀虫工作的黑暗属性，暴力的最小的孩子，空中的足音。 关键词，我的影子捶打着梦中之铁，它的那节奏，一只孤狼走进无人失败的黄昏。露丝在水上书写，一生、一天、一个句子，结束。
Key word. My shadow's dangerous. This craftsman the sun hired brings final knowledge. It's empty. That's the dark nature of a moth's hungry work, smallest child of violence, footsteps in air. Key word, my shadow, hammers dream world iron, stepping to that rhythm. A lone wolf walks into dusk of no one's defeat. An egret writes on water. A life, a day, a sentence, ends.
The next one, untitled. 无题。小号如尖锐的梨，耕种夜，多久阳光才会破土？多久那聆听者才会转身看到我们？多久我们才会通过努力成为我们的荣耀？直到鼓励入仓，这思想不属于谁？那有此刻与来世的落差，巨浪拍岸，我们以青春为邻，听狂暴心跳。在更空旷的地方，睡眠塞满稻草。
A trumpet like a sharp plow tills the night. How long till sunlight breaks the ground? How long till those who listen respectfully turn around and see us? How long till we, through effort and exertion, turn into glory? Till the grain goes into the granary, this thought belongs to no one. A drop in the water level between this moment and the next life. Huge waves beat against the shore, next door to youth. We hear the wild palpitations. In a space even vaster, sleep stuffed with rice straw.
The next one, smell. 那气味让人记忆犹新，像一辆马车穿过旧货市场，古董、假货和叫卖者的智慧蒙上了灰尘。和你的现实总有距离，在和老板的争吵中，你看见窗户里的广告：明天多好，明天排牙膏。你面对着五个土豆，第6个是洋葱。这盘棋的结局如悲伤，从航海图上消失。
Smells. Those smells making you remember again, like a horse cart passing through the flea market, curios, fakes, hawkers, wisdom covered in dust. And there's always a gap between you and reality. Arguing with the boss, you see the ad out the window, a bright tomorrow brand toothpaste. You are facing 5 potatoes, the 6th is an onion. The outcome of this chess game is like sorrow, disappearing from the maritime chart.
Don't argue with your boss. Yeah, this is very dangerous. The next is no. You have to learn how to say no. 不，答案很快就会知道。日历那撒谎的光芒已折射他脸上。临近遗忘，临近田野的旁白，临近祖国这个词所拥有的绝望。麦粒饱满啊，成熟的哭泣，今夜最忠实的孤独在为他引路。他对所有排队而喋喋不休的日子说不。
No. The solution soon knows the calendar, that lying radiance already refracted in his face. Close to forgetting, close to the monologues of open country, close to the homeland, this word, all the despair it holds. Fat grains of wheat weep as they ripen. Tonight, faithful solitude leads his way. And to all the days in line, endlessly chattering, he says, no.
Night sky. 夜空。沉默的晚餐 盘子运转的黑暗，让我们分享这煮熟的愤怒，再来点盐。假设拥有更大的空间舞台，饥饿的观众越过我们的表演，目光向上，如升旗升向夜空关闭的广场。一道光芒指出变化，移动行星，我们开始说话。
Night sky. Silent dinner, the dishes spin darkness, letting us share the simmered anger, add a little salt. Suppose there were an even greater space, a stage, the starving spectators looking up at our acting. Like raising a flag, rising into the night sky, the square is shut down. A ray of light points out the changes, shifting planets. We begin to speak.
So next is 5 most recent poems. First one, Black Map. About 2 years ago, I got the first chance to visit Beijing since 1989, due to my father was very ill. Nearly everything has been changed, and I became stranger in my hometown with a black map. Black map, 黑色地图。寒鸦终于拼凑成叶，黑色地图。我回来了。归程总是比迷途长于一生。带上冬天的心，当泉水和秘制药丸成了夜的话语，当记忆狂沸，彩虹在黑市出没。父亲生命之火如豆，我是他的回声，为赴约转过街角，旧日情人隐身风中和信一起旋转。北京，让我跟你所有灯光干杯，让我的白发领路让我的白发领路穿过黑色地图，如风暴领你起飞。我排队排到那小窗关上，啊，明月，我回来了。重逢总是比告别少，只少一次。
Black map. In the end, cold crows piece together the night. A black map. I've come home, the way back longer than the wrong road, long as a life. Bring the heart of winter, when spring water and horse pills become the words of night, when memory barks, a rainbow haunts the black market. My father's life spark, small as a pea. I am his echo, turning the corner of encounters. A former lover hides in a wind, swirling with letters. Beijing, let me toast your lamplights. Let my white hair lead the way through the black map, as though a storm were taking you to fly. I wait in line until the small window shuts. Oh, the bright moon, I've come home. Reunions are less than goodbyes, only one less.
The next one, Ramana. In the spring of 2002, I joined the delegation of the International Parliament of Writers to visit in Sage city, Ramallah. So we met Arafat, and we give poetry reading with Palestinian writers like Muhammad Darwish. Ramallah, 拉曼拉，在拉曼拉，古人在星空对弈，残局忽明忽暗，那被钟关注的鸟跳出来报时。在拉曼拉，太阳像老头翻墙，穿过露天市场，在生锈的铜盘上照亮了自己。在拉曼拉，诸神从瓦罐饮水，弓向独贤问路。一个少年到天边去继承大海。在拉姆安拉，死亡沿正午播种，在我窗前开花，抗拒中树得飓风那狂暴原型。
Ramallah. In Ramallah, the ancients play chess in the starry sky. The endgame flickers. A bird locked in a clock jumps out to tell the time. In Ramallah, The sun climbs over the wall like an old man and grows through the open market, throwing mirror light on a rusted copper plate. In Ramallah, gods drink water from earthen jars. A bow asks a string for directions. A boy sets out to inherit the ocean from the edge of the sky. In Ramallah, seeds sown along the high noon, death blossoms outside my window, resisting. The tree takes on a hurricane's violent original shape.
The next one, Rose of Time， 时间的玫瑰。当守门人沉睡，你和风暴一起转身，拥抱中老去的是时间的玫瑰。当鸟路界定天空，你回望的落日，消失中呈现的是时间的玫瑰。当刀在水中折弯，你踏笛声过桥，密谋中哭喊的是时间的玫瑰。当笔划出地平线，你被东方之罗惊醒，回声中开放的是时间的玫瑰。镜中永远是此刻，此刻通向重生之门，那门开向大海，时间的玫瑰。
The Rose of Time. When the watchman falls asleep, you turn back with the storm. To grow old, embracing, is the rose of time. When bird roads define the sky, you look behind at the sunset. To emerge in disappearance is the rose of time. When the knife is bent in water, you cross the bridge stepping on flute songs. To cry in the conspiracy is the rose of time. When a pen draws the horizon, you're awakened by a gong from the east. To bloom in echoes is the rose of time. In the mirror, there is always this moment. This moment leads to the door of rebirth. The door opens to the sea, the rose of time.
The next one, Road Song， 路歌。在数一数的遗忘中，是狗的抒情进攻。在无端旅途的终点，夜转动所有的金钥匙，没有门开向你。一只灯笼遵循的是冬天古老的法则。我径直走向你，你展开的历史折扇，合上是孤独的歌。晚钟悠然追问你，回声两度为你作答。暗夜逆流而上，树根在秘密发电，你的果园亮了。我径直走向你，带领所有他乡之路。当火焰试穿大雪，日落封存帝国，大地之书翻到此刻。
Road Song. In the oblivion between the trees, the lyric attacks by dogs at the end of an endless trip. Night turns all the keys of gold, but no door opens for you. A lantern follows. The ancient principles of winter, I walk straight toward you as you open the fan of history that's folded in an isolated song. The evening bell slowly questions you. Echoes answer for you twice. Dark night sails against the current. Tree roots secretly generating electricity have lit your orchard. I walk straightly toward you, at the head of all foreign roads. When fire tries on the heavy snow, sunset seals the empire. The earth's book opens the page of this moment.
The last poem, To Father. My father died about 2 years ago. 给父亲。在2月寒冷的早晨，橡树中有悲哀的尺寸。父亲在你的照片前，八面风保持圆桌的平静。我从童年的方向看到的永远是你的背影。沿着通向君主的道路，你放牧乌云和羊群。雄辩的风带来洪水，胡同的逻辑深入人心。你召唤我成为儿子，我追随你成为父亲。掌中奔流的命运带动日月星辰运转，在男性的孤灯下，万物阴影成双。时针兄弟的斗争构成锐角，合二为一。 病雷滚进夜的医院，砸响了你的门。黎明如丑角登场，火焰为你更换床单。钟表停止之处，时间的飞镖呼啸而过。快追上那辆死亡马车吧！一条春天窃贼的小路，查访群山的财富，河流环绕歌的忧伤。标语隐藏在墙上，这世界并没多少改变。女人转身融入夜晚，从早晨走出男人。
To Father. On a cold February morning, oaks in the end are the size of sadness. Father, in front of your photo, the eightfold wind keeps the round table calm. From the direction of childhood, I always saw your back, as you herded black clouds and sheep along the road to emperors. An eloquent wind brings floods. The logic of alleyways runs deep into hearts of the people. You sending for me become the son. I following you become the father. Fate coursing on the palm of a hand moves the sun, the moon, the stars to revolve beneath a single male lamp. Everything has double shadows. The clock hand brothers contend to form an acute angle, then become one. Sick thunder rolls into the hospital of night, pounding on your door. The dawn comes up like a clown. Flame changes the bedsheets for you. Where the clock stops, time's dart whistles by. Let's catch up to that death carriage, spring path. A thief explores the treasure in the mountains. A river circles the song's grief. Slogans hide on walls. This world doesn't change much. A woman turns around, blending into night. In the morning, a man walks out.
Thank you. You can take a rest now.
Okay.
Okay. So it's a hard part now. So I'm going to read some fragments from two essays. First is a title. It's called Allen Ginsberg, from the book Blue House, published by Zephyr Press. The second article is called Country Mouse. It's from the book, my essay book, Midnight's Gate, will be published by New Directions in this April. I hope it's understandable. I try to read slow. Allen Ginsberg. Anna once boasted, "Check out this suit, $5. Leather shoes, $3. Shirt, $2. Tie, $1. All of it second hand. Only my poetry is first hand." I met Allen Ginsberg in 1983 when he came to China as a part of a group of American authors. My English translator, Bonnie McDougall, had arranged for me to meet him and his comrade in arms, Gary Snyder. We met secretly in Allen's hotel room, as was at that time a problematical person and a key target in the government anti-spiritual pollution campaign. I had recently been told to take some time off from work and reflect. Skip, yeah. The next time I saw Allen was 5 years later in New York at the Chinese Poetry Festival he had organized. The sponsor of the Poetry Festival was New York's shower curtain queen, an obese and arrogant old woman who moved sluggishly but with great deal of style. It was rumored that many of Allen's expenses were pulled out from behind her curtains. Allen followed behind her like a humble servant, his head bent low, occasionally looking up and winking. His humility amazed me. From that point on, we saw each other more frequently. In the summer of the 1990, we both attended the World Poetry Congress in Seoul. Well dressed as usual in only the finest of the second-hand clothes, he questioned South Korean officials about the release of the political prisoners and the Koreans' human rights record. The organizers of the festival were upset, but unable to do anything because of Allen's celebrity status. At the banquet, the highest of the officials and the lowest of the interns pushed their way into photos with him. Allen always dragged me along, despite my protests. I had never seen him as angry as one of the officials, seeing that I was sharing in Allen's limelight, shoved me out of the way. Allen stomped his feet and exploded. "You son of a bitch! Don't you fucking know his friend of mine, a Chinese poet?" The official quickly apologized and, much to my embarrassment, pushed me back into the line of the photos. Every time a similar situation arose later, I always made myself scarce. Skips. Allen was given to fits of the nostalgia. In his small New York apartment, he played me a recording of his conversations with Kerouac. Looking forlorn, he talked to me about friendship, arguments, death. So many of my friends have died from drugs or alcohol. He sighed. I told him that in our 20s, my friend and I consumed on the road. We could recite entire pages. I was genuinely moved by his ability to live in apparent communion with the dead, continuing dialogues from years ago. I pictured him sitting alone at home, listening to the recordings over and over until dusk creeping through the window. The part 2. The day I received the phone call about Allen's death, I shut myself up in my room, a complete blank. That evening, I called Gary Snyder. He calmly told me about Allen's last few days in the hospital. The doctors have diagnosed it as liver cancer and given him 3 to 5 months. "Man, this means goodbye," Allen told Gary on the phone. I remember asking Allen whether he believed in reincarnation. His answer was ambiguous, leaning towards disbelief. Snyder has convinced him to join the Tibetan Buddhists. Oriental religions seem to calm the torture in his soul, as though diffuse a bomb. Eastern religions can exact a profoundly calming effect. What a Western rebel like Allen apparently needed was the spiritual, non-Christian force to help him challenge conventions. Of all of the Eastern religions, Allen chose one based in the magical, thus aligning him with a vast and mysterious line and culture filled with the promise of the rebirth. Allen's eyes betrayed his true madness, his elbows bulging out at 2 different angles. He would look at you with one eye and follow his own thoughts with the other. He once gave me a book of his photographs. These black and white shots conveyed the twin explorers of his 2 eyes. Most of the photos were of the friends from the Beat generation huddling together, arms around each other, hanging out with weird smiles. At the very moment that Allen wanted to capture something, his focus was drift, like the other eye immersed in the depths of his thoughts. The voice was soft and low. The color completely faded. Because Alan wanted us to experience the power of the loss, genuine sadness. Another photo was Alan's self-portrait, sitting naked, legged crossed, faced the bathroom mirror, camera resting in his crotch. His bald head with thick tufts curling up the sides, his eyes flashing like bulbs. The photo must date from at least 20 years back. Was he capturing himself or his own impending sense of the loss? Anna and I were day and night, from the vast different geographies and the tastes in poetry. He once told me that he didn't understand my late poems, and I felt exactly the same way about his work. I simply had no concept of what he was writing about in his late poetry, but this never hindered our friendship. What I admired most was the way his satirical way would occasionally slip amidst his uncompromising stance against the authority. Alan made it considerably easier for everyone who came after him. He once let me have a look at his just released FBI dossier. Alan had been on the list of every single administration for 50 years. He had forged ahead like the pawn, past the point of no return, seemingly single-handedly challenging each heavily guarded king. It had all lasted a full half-century, and for Alan, the confrontation itself was a victory. Part 3. Now wandering alone, glass in hand through the great halls of the New York's Lincoln Center, I'm here to attend the benefit dinner honoring the 75th anniversary of the founding of the American Penn Center. Alan died 9 days ago, and his name is still on the guest list. I don't know many people here. I have no desire to meet anyone new. I'm searching for Alan in the crowd. This is about Alan. The next one is new, will come out in April, called Country Mouse. Part 1. The children's stories goes like this. A country mouse invites a city mouse to visit him in the country and feeds him corn, potatoes, and grain. After eating, the city mouse doesn't say a word except to invite the country mouse to visit him in the city. One day, the country mouse goes to the city. He's surprised to find that the city mouse is 10 times better than him. Cheese, butter, ham, cake, and such fare. But right in the middle of the stuffing themselves, the city mouse cries out, "Run for your life, it's the cat." So he scrambles away, but having escaped that danger, he's almost crashed beneath one of the many cars flying back and forth along the street. Finally, panting for breath, the country mouse says, "I'm better off with my peaceful life in the country. Here you may eat well, but you fear for your life all the time." I'm like a country mouse, looking up at the blue sky and the white clouds all day. But I was a city mouse for many decades before this, wandering all over the world. At 40, I was no longer confused. 5 years ago, I finally moved to a small town in California and settled down. Every time I go back to the city, I eat and drink well, but I still miss the quiet of the country. So then I try to compare air pollution and noise between city and the country. So now it's about danger. Starting in the 80s, students from China surged into big American cities in great numbers. Poor, they could only live in the worst areas. When faced with danger, they each developed their own clever stratagems. I met a foreign Chinese student in New York who was dressed in a very special way. Black wool overcoat, sunglasses, black fedora pushed down over his eyes, cigarettes hanging askew from his mouth. With both hands in his pockets, he would skulk crabwise down the street, a typical FBI agent from the Hollywood movie of the 30s and 40s. Even though the outfit was a little out of the day, it still struck fear in the hearts of the evildoers who did their best to keep their distance. Dali was my classmate in high school. He had studied in New York for 4 years and lives in Harlem. I asked him how he was able to survive the constant warfare without having so much as a hair on his head harmed. You must have extraordinary kung fu skills, I guessed. He shook his head mysteriously, spread out his fingers, and summarized 3 things he had learned. First, when you see a group of the suspicious-looking figures, adopt a cowering attitude, cross the street and go around them. Second, if you can't avoid them, look right into the face of the one who looks like he might be the leader, and let him know you will remember him. This will reduce the impulse to commit crime. The third, most crucial, is that whenever somebody is following you, you must head to the nearest garbage can and start rummaging around in it. I didn't comprehend this final point, Dali said with a chuckle. If you are poorer than him, why would he rob you? The part 2. The famous Russian cellist Rostropovich once said that city people are in race towards death. This is a sensible observation. City mass are exhausted every day from being constantly on the run, as if they were wound up on a spring. Except for sleeping, when do they have time to rest? Actually, life is a kind of the experiencing. If there is no time for leisure, how can one's experience deepen? Time-filled compresses. A year seems as short as a day and rushes by. But we have entertainment, says the city mass. But the entertainment is empty, like work. It fills time and cannot bring true leisure. People get together because they are afraid of the loneliness. And besides, nowadays, if you want to see a movie, you don't have to live in the city. A lot of people trying to appear sophisticated go to the great length to see the first showing of the new movie, so as to have some conversational capital when they see their friends at work the next day. But what I really don't understand is why city people go so meticulously dressed up go to listen to classical music. After all, they aren't go to a wedding reception. And then once there, you pay for your own punishment. Stifling coughs and holding bladders not even dare to breathe too loud. If you're not careful and doze off, you will be awakened by the applause. Then you stand up with anyone else and cheer without stopping until the musicians come back out for an encore. Isn't this ridiculous? Listening to the music is a private affair. It's better to stay at home and not make such a big fuss. But we country mass. My New York friend Elliot teases me right back, saying, "Country mouse, what you are is a suburban mouse." Generally speaking, suburban mass work themselves to death, drive Camrys, eat fast food, tighten their belts so they can afford to live in a good school district, borrow money to buy a house, cut grass and tend flowers, go running and walk the dog. Behind closed doors, they watch TV, argue, burn themselves out, then spend money to see a psychiatrist. After careful consideration, there aren't many real country mass in the United States. Most are suburban mass. Workaholics really not much better than city mass at all. According to recent statistics, Americans work the longest hours in the world, even surpassing the Japanese, who are notorious workaholics. What people call the wealth of America seems to me to be nothing but a number. All-day Americans are pointless busy, bats in air, chasing their own shadows. After they earn all that money, what then? When is there time to enjoy any of it? The layout and structure of a house in some ways determines how people live. Gazing out over the suburbs, most of the houses look like they have been formed from the same mold. Over time, the people living inside also become exactly the same as each other. When I taught at a university, I found that many American kids all thought in a more or less the same way, which surprised me. But then staring row after row of the standardized houses in the suburbs, I suddenly understood why. Sometimes I think this is kind of the modernized brainwashing is more frightening than authoritarian brainwashing because people lost any awareness of the resistance and think everything exactly as it should be. Towards the end. While writing this, I'm suddenly aware that I have most definitely become a country mouse, and it would be very difficult for me to readjust to city life. But then new changes but the new changes have also happened in my life. This country mouse has no choice but to move back to New York. That is the most odious of the places. I must prepare myself for the air pollution and noise, fear, and the art of the survival. Thank you.